When I think about my father, I think of two things. The first thing I think about is passion. He cared about life and everything very deeply. And the other thing I think about is compassion. He cared about people. Once when I was 5 years old and I did something wrong, and my mother ordered my father to give me a good spanking, and I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure I deserved it. He took me into the bedroom and he closed the door and he took a slipper and he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hit the bed really hard and you're going to cry out in pain like you're really getting hurt, okay? And he smacked the bed and I went, ah! And he smacked it again. Yeah, okay, we got to do it one more time. Ah! And he's like, okay, this will be our little secret, all right? And so we went out the bedroom and my mother gave us the most suspicious. I knew she knew what happened, but she let it go. She indulged him, not me, him. But he wasn't just compassionate towards his children. He was compassionate to everybody, to strangers. In my entire life, I have never seen him walk by a beggar on the street without giving that beggar money. Never. Once, when we were by the kotel and some beggar lady, he gave her money, and in classic Israeli fashion, she's like, this is not enough. And, most people would get pretty upset, like, I don't have to give you anything. But he just remained completely calm, and he gave her more. And as we walked away, he said, she must really need that money, because why else would you behave like that? And so he was always looking on the bright side of people. His passion extended to everybody, and he was always encouraging us, his children, to be the best we could be and to follow our passions. And in fact, he started me in my first business at 6 years old with my older sister, Hannah. She was 7. And we were living in Israel, in Jerusalem. We were living in a apartment building where there was no elevator and there was no garbage chute, so you have to take your trash and go down the stairs and walk to the dumpster on the curb. It was a big pain. And he said, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for you guys. Why don't you start a subscription service and go to all the neighbors and tell them that for every other day, nobody takes their garbage out every day, so every other day you take out their trash. And you could charge them like, a shekel a week, a quarter. And so we were like, oh yeah, money, great idea. And so we went to all the neighbors, and we signed up 9 neighbors in our apartment building. They thought it was a great idea too. Quarter a week, And our mother had one of those carts on wheels, and we put the trash in the cart and ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk down the stairs, and took it to the dumpster on the curb. Then after about a week, we told our dad, this is way too much work. We were 6 and 7 years old, and this garbage was heavy, and we're like, this is not worth it. I don't care about the money. And our dad says to us, he's like, well, would you do it if it was twice the money? And we're like, ooh, twice the money? Yeah, we'd do it for twice the money. He's like, so raise the price. And we're like, but we can't raise the price. We just told them a week ago that the price is a shekel a week. And he's like, well, if you don't raise the price, you're not going to do it. So they're either going to pay it or they're not. And so we said, okay, let's try it. So we went to all the neighbors and we told them the new pricing. And most of them just said, yeah, sure, 50 cents, no problem. Of course, one neighbor said, you can't double the price after 1 week. This week you raise it 5 cents. Next week you raise it another 5 cents. Little by little, you can't have a price shock. We're like, but he told us, stand firm. Even if they complain, this is what is worth it to you. So see if it's worth it to them, and if it's not worth it to them, you don't have to do it. So we said, well, that's the price. And he's, grumbled a little, but he paid. One neighbor did quit, and from then on we saw their daughter take out the trash. Never seen that happen before, but from then on, she always took out the trash. I mean, why pay the neighbor's kids to take out your trash when you have your own able young child to do labor for you? So that taught me a lot. You have to value your own time, have to offer something that people value, and you have to meet in the middle, and you have to adjust it as it goes. Very valuable life lessons. Even the way that business eventually ended taught me a lot. I mean, after a little while, we did pretty well. We built up a few hundred shekels in a Ziploc bag that I kept hidden in my parents' room. And every time the ice cream truck would run around with its little ice cream song, I'd think to myself, I'm rich. I could get myself an ice cream. So I'd go into my parents' room and take out a few shekels and get myself an ice cream. It's happened enough times I started to become a fat little kid. And my dad used one of his favorite lines that he loved using, the truly strong man is the man who could control his own desires. But it wasn't enough to keep a 6-year-old from ice cream. No. The way that business eventually ended was for my 7th birthday, I got a birthday gift. It was a little airplane, one of those with a wind-up propeller and a rubber band. And it was so cool. And my brother Avram, he's like, I really want to try it out. And my dad said, if you break it, you're going to be responsible for it. And Avram said, of course, I understand. And he promptly broke it. And then he told him, you're going to have to pay him back. But, of course, he was 9. So or I guess 10 at that time. Just turned 10, and he had no way to pay me back, so he said, you're going to have to take over his job and work it off. So it took him a few months, but he did it. He worked it off, and he got me my airplane back. Of course, by then, I was so used to just hanging out and buying ice cream on my savings, it was kind of hard to get back into it, so business folded, but I learned a lot. He was very, his passion extended to everything. He was very passionate about technology, as people have already mentioned. He was very proud to tell us that he started the world's first computer dating service for Jewish people. It was the world's first J-date, or J-swipe for you younger Jews here. This was back in the days of punch cards, so yeah, he was the original, and he was the first person to put a webcam on when webcams became a thing in the early to mid 90s. He had the idea to put the webcam on Aish Torah pointed at the Western Wall, and I just checked it yesterday, and it's got over 37 million views, enough for each Jew in the world to see it around twice. So I thought that was incredible. So when I was 8 and he saw I was reading a book, we were visiting. Okay, one funeral today is enough. When I was 8 years old and we were visiting someone for Shabbos, and I was reading one of their books. It was about Nikola Tesla, the great inventor who invented our electrical system. And I told my father, wow, this is so amazing. I want to be an inventor just like Nikola Tesla. He was so happy. He was like, well then, in that case, I'm going to get you an invention book. And he got me like a little notebook, and he wrote on it, invention book. And he's like, you put all your inventions in there and show me when you're in. So I filled it with, inventions like shoes with propellers on them to make you fly, and he loved them, even though none of them were, could have worked. But eventually, when I actually got my first patent for the Beat Buddy, he used to joke, I'll take full credit. All started with that invention book. It wasn't so much of a joke. Yeah, everything he did seemed to have a significant effect on my life. When on Shabbos, he would always ask me to give him shoulder massages, and I'd give him shoulder massages, and he would tell me, a father owes his son 3 things: to teach him how to swim, already did that; to teach him a trade, and to find him a wife. And you're pretty good at this, so I think you could do this as a trade. So we only got 1 left. And I told him, Dad, I'm 11 years old. You got some time. And eventually, around 10 years later, I actually did go to massage therapy school and got a massage therapy license. And he said, you see, don't ever say I didn't teach you a trade. And I said, Dad, I'm still waiting on the wife. He loved joking around. That was every opportunity he got, he would say jokes. And being a father of 9 children, he took, as they say, dad jokes to a whole other level. I mean, we heard every one of his jokes at least 500 times, because every new guest to the Shabbos table had to hear his favorite jokes, and we were like, okay, he's going to do this one again. But he loved it every single time. He loved it. Yeah. In fact, the last thing my last interaction with him was a bit of a joke. It was this past Wednesday, and he was on a lot of medication, and he was drifting in and out of consciousness. He was in a lot of pain. And I told my mother, he was, kind of passed out on the couch, and I told my mother, wow, these drugs, this medicine, it really turns you into a zombie. And his head was down, and suddenly his head popped up, and his eyes were like huge and like staring right at me. And I was like, what? I'm like, well, that was good timing. And he goes, that was intentional. And then he promptly passed out again. And that was the last he spoke to me. But I think he loved telling jokes because he loved making everyone feel good. Because he cared about everybody, and I know that seeing everybody here, all of you and all the people who loved him so much, nothing would make him happier. So thank you all for coming. It means a lot to us.